Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Kayla Lords.
John Brownstone.
Of Loving BDSM, where we help kinksters like you have happy, healthy power exchange relationships.
That's what we do.
And also where our cat Ella cries in the back as if she has been abandoned. We can't get her to stop crying, and I can't edit her out, so just consider her background noise. We love her. For this video, it is technically seasonal. We're recording it in December because the holidays are upon us. As of recording, Hanukkah has begun. Christmas is around the corner. We are 2 years into the plague, and people are starting to visit their families more than they might have done in the previous year. And we thought it would be a good idea to share how we handle visiting with family as people in a power exchange who, for us, it's 24/7. So it's so baked into our day-to-day that we sometimes even forget that anything would be considered unusual to a non-kinkster until a relative goes, "What's that for?" And then we're jolted back to reality. So this particular set of tips is to help anybody who is relatively new to their power exchange. Maybe you've finally got a partner who's living with you full time, or you're going to bring your partner to a family gathering this holiday season, and you don't want them to know you're kinky. Some people are out and proud. Some people are like, I don't give a fuck. Just, this is who I am, and you're going to call me this. And that's fine. If that's you, these tips are probably not for you. Yeah. This is for everybody else who's like, actually, I don't want my grandma knowing that I call my partner mommy. No thanks. I don't want that out there.
Well, and in some cases, too, kind of like us, you know, most of our family knows. Kind of, sort of. But they also don't want to...
They don't want to be witness to it. They're supportive enough that they still love us, but they're uncomfortable enough that we just want to respect that. So these tips are sort of how you maintain some level of your power exchange without completely outing yourself to grandma, and hopefully still feel connected, because that tends to be the biggest problem, is especially if it's for an extended visit. Maybe you go to a family member's house for the week of Christmas, and you got that whole week of, but wait, we have very specific routines in our power exchange, and those are now out the window. What can we do? So these are our tips for that.
There we go. Talk about it before the visit.
If you're already in the middle of the visit, it's too late for you. Okay, maybe go get a coffee and have a conversation outside of the house or whatever. But if you're preparing for a visit, have a conversation. Be realistic about what you don't want to do in front of family or friends. What needs to change. So if you usually use a very specific title and you don't want to call your partner that, or they don't want to be called that in front of their family or their friends, what will you do instead? What can temporarily work? I don't call you daddy in front of my mom, who knows I called my actual father daddy. That's just not okay for us.
Nor do I call you baby girl.
Right. Actually, my mother calls me that. I feel like I might be all the cliches of daddy issues, and I don't mean to be. Okay? I don't mean to be. And so we just sort of forego some of that. Now, does that mean you call me by my legal name and I don't like it? Yes. I am fortunate that the kids are not your biological children, and so they don't call you dad. That is their preference. They call you Mr. John. So I call you Mr. John.
Exactly.
And it feels like a title. But sometimes it does mean that you just don't use that title while you're visiting, or you come up with little nicknames that mean something to you that sound innocuous to anybody else.
I sometimes may call you BG. Okay, next. Consider tasks, rules, etc. that look vanilla.
We are huge fans of this. Most of our power exchange does not look like power exchange from the outside looking in. I speak with respectful tone. I'm going to put air quotes on that, respectful tones, because sometimes
it says the sassy baby girl.
I'm sassy. But in general, we are respectful towards one another. We do not argue in front of my family. I would not do that in general, but I really don't do it as part of our power exchange. We have different tasks and rituals, and I say rituals, and they're only rituals because they're things we do all the time, that just look like I'm taking care of you. I make your coffee. I get your plate ready at a big family meal. And
you'll make a drink for me for the
I'll
meal,
ask
different
you,
things.
especially when we're doing the holiday thing, I'm like, oh, Mr. John, what would you like for lunch? And I'll take care of it. And nobody bats an eye. Part of that is because I have been raised quite Southern and quite female. And so there's a socialization there that I take advantage of. But if you are known in your relationship for just sort of doing things for the other, you get to ascribe meaning to those for yourself. And if your family doesn't even notice it, that's fine. They don't have to notice it for it to be valid for you.
Yeah. Okay, next. Don't feel like you have to share details.
So this is where boundaries come in.
Yeah.
Some people feel like it's very important to tell their family and friends, I'm kinky, I'm submissive, I'm dominant, I'm in this kind of relationship. And that's okay if that's how you feel and that's what you want to do. I'm not that person. Quite frankly, if life had not made choices for me, I probably would never have had that conversation with my mother.
Yeah.
And she would have been very happy if I hadn't, because she did not want to know either. So if you are more on our end of that spectrum of, I don't really want to have these conversations, you're probably going to get an uncomfortable question of, well, why do you do that? Because I want to, because it makes me happy, because I enjoy taking care of my partner. You can say innocuous things that are not untrue that then don't give more details than you want to. And do we all have those people in our lives who push? Yes.
Yep.
This is a time, not a good time, not a bad time. This is a time to practice setting boundaries. I don't want to talk about that, or that's all I'm going to tell you, or because I want to, full sentence, stop. That's all you got to say. Some people will continue to push. You are not obligated to share those details if you don't want to.
No. Okay. Treat your collar like any piece of jewelry.
This is for people who wear collars that are also visible. That does not apply to everybody. My collar, in my mind, looks like a collar. It's got a lock on it, and it is a chain, like, what? It's a braided chain.
Like
that's
a braided chain,
yeah.
chainmail kind of, yeah.
From Elegantly Owned on Etsy, just saying. But, not sponsored. It locks. I can't, anybody who looks at it closely is going to go, you can't take this off. And I get compliments on it too from family members, from strangers, which is great. I just don't draw attention to it. My mom, over the years, every collar I've worn, from really dainty, kind of subtle ones to what feels to me to be more obvious, she's always complimented them.
Yeah.
She's always said, oh, that's so pretty. And I just go, thank you. John got it for me. It's one of those times I have to use your name. I don't like it, but we do it. Because she would think it was weird if I called you Mr. John in a conversation that did not involve the kids, but it's a thing. So I just don't draw attention to it. I just say thank you when somebody compliments me, and then I move on. I leave it alone. Now, if you are still highly, highly uncomfortable, or the questions you're going to get are ones you don't want to deal with, I don't think there's anything wrong to switching to a different style for the visit. Day collars are called day collars because they are meant to be worn publicly without drawing attention. But also, I think you can unapologetically wear your collar and be like, why, yes, it is a chain link with a big padlock. I like this. This is my style, Mom. And I think that's okay, too. But if you don't act like it's a big deal, most of the time, people tend to be polite enough that they'll just kind of go, oh, that's weird, but okay. Yes. Do we all have that one person in our sphere who will push? Yeah, go back to tip before. Learn. This is time to practice setting boundaries, and you don't have to explain anything you don't want to.
Okay. Consider subtle fuckery.
So we got used to subtle fuckery from long distance relationships because there was stuff we just couldn't do together.
Right.
And it still works today. So you have, at all kinds of events, sent me off like to the spare bedroom or to the bathroom, and my job was to edge myself. Wearable sex toys that are actually quiet. You will need to test this first. That can be a fun way to engage in some power and control, and maybe get you worked up for when you're finally alone in your room at night. So that can be wearing a butt plug if anal is part of your thing. That can be wearing a cock ring if you have a penis and you just want to kind of have that constriction, or a cock cage if you want to like make it so that you literally cannot touch it. I have briefly worn nipple clamps under clothes. That one you have to be careful of, especially if you're trying to be, under the radar, that it can't be seen through clothes, and that you can get to a place where you can take them off within a certain amount of time. But yeah, being sent on little sexy errands when it's kind of quiet in the house. Everybody's taking a nap after a big meal, and your dom sends you into the bathroom to like edge yourself. Nobody knows what you're doing in there unless you start screaming. Don't scream. Okay. This, I think, is one of those times you do have to know yourself. If you are a screamer, maybe that is not the task for you, unless the real task is you got to do it without making any noise.
There you go.
Which this sadist loves. What else would you suggest as subtle fuckery?
Well, for me, I'm what comes to my mind is more along the lines of power exchange.
Okay.
Once you're off in your room for the night and, getting ready to settle in, there's certain things you can do, kneeling if possible, asking permission to go to bed, something that would definitely show the power exchange. Once you're in your room, doors closed, have your sub undress you and get you ready for bed.
There you go.
Prepare the bed. So it's little subtle things that give the feeling of service without being obvious.
Right. Exactly. Okay. And if you are behind closed doors, especially with a door that can lock, or maybe you're staying at a hotel and you've left everybody behind, man, if you can afford and have access to a hotel during a family visit and it won't like ruin everything and cause drama you don't want to deal with,
rock on.
Do that, because then you've got hotel sex.
Yep.
And then whatever pent up whatever from the day, you've got the hotel room for it.
Okay. Give and open kinky gifts privately.
So we are a big proponent of kinky gifts, and not just because you have a toy shop, thekinkery.com. Not sponsored, but it's because we own it. We don't have to. Anyway, you have given me gifts specific to sex and kink at holiday time.
Yes.
Even when we weren't doing the big family visit, in those times, that was in the bedroom, just the two of us, because we have kids, so we didn't want anybody going, Mommy, what is that very large massage thing you're holding? It was my original magic wand. Thank you very much. So if that is your style, but this is a year, maybe you're going to friends for this, or you're going to see family for that, or whatever, bring the present if you're away from home and want to give it on the special holiday, but definitely maybe don't keep it under the tree. And definitely open it privately, because nothing will cause more questions than your partner opening a collar, a paddle, a vibrator, a harness in front of everybody. And if it's left under the tree, if you're trying to avoid questions you don't want to have to answer, there's going to be there's this gift left. And yeah, you can do we're going to open that privately, and that's okay. But if you know you've got those family members or those friends who will push too hard, just keep it in your bedroom, keep it private. If you're visiting somewhere else and you've traveled, maybe have a special date evening or whatever to go away and have your moment. If you're having people over, sometimes we've done this. We just do our stuff after everybody's gone, and it's like a second holiday celebration for us. So kind of figure out what's going on with you, and then time your kinky and sexy gift giving away from that.
There you go.
So that, quite frankly, we've made these seasonal for the holiday gift giving time, but quite frankly, most of this works anytime you're around friends and family who are not kinky, that you're trying to not out yourself to, and you don't want to have those conversations. Most of this works for all of that. So even if you're not visiting for the holidays, but you'll be in a few months and you're like, oh gosh, new relationship. Oh gosh, it's the first time I've worn a collar, or it's the first time I've dominated somebody, and how is this going to work in front of my family? It's easier than you think, especially if you prepare for it.
True.
And then once you do it a couple times, it gets easier. You just kind of find a rhythm and a flow. And for us, we create new routines that are kind of specific to visiting. Whether they're coming here or we're going there. We alter what we would do at home when we're by ourselves, but it still works for us even if it's not the day-to-day very specific routine that we would normally follow.
True.
So those are our tips.
Yeah.
And Ella meowing in the background and Lola snoring in the background. Because is it a loving BDSM video if a fur baby is not making their presence known?
The menagerie.
Yeah, no, it's not. So hopefully these tips can be helpful to you. If you have your own tips for how you survive the visits with friends and family who are not kinky, that you would add to this list, drop those in the comments below. We wish you a happy holidays, however you celebrate. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, all of those holidays, however that works for you. And that is it for us this week. If you enjoyed this video, we love a thumbs up. If you like it enough to want to come back for more, please consider subscribing.
And once you do that, ring that notification bell to get updates of new content.
Sure. And if you really like what we do, want to help us do more of it, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/KaylaLords. Bye.
Bye.